Hey guys, Chelsea here, and today by request I wanted to teach you a little bit about multiple exposures. In this video I'm going to show you how to do it in camera, because that's my favorite way, and also how to do it in post-processing. But before I start, I wanted to show you where the multiple exposure was born, and the way that I was first taught how to do a multiple exposure, and that was on film. So I brought a piece of film from my first multiple exposure so that you could see how they're made. And if you see here, the first exposure that I took is completely clear where Tony is silhouetted. And the second one has the newspaper writing in it, and that's the final multiple exposure. So I just wanted to show you this to show you how they're made, because I think that if you have an idea of how they're made, you can more intelligently produce one and not just kind of shoot around randomly and see what works. If you look at this, you can see that everything that's black in your photo, everything that you silhouette, is going to be clear digitally. In film, it's literally clear. In your digital camera, it's going to just show through everything in your second exposure. So this was the finished picture that I took of Tony. I do have a Nikon here and I do have a Canon, so I was just going to show you how to navigate the menu systems. I'm using the Nikon D810. Your menu system may be a bit different. You go to menu and then you go down to this camera here and to multiple exposures. Make sure that it's on, then you're good to go. You just have to take 2 consecutive pictures and there'll be a multiple exposure. So let me show you how to do it with your Canon. I'm using a Canon 7D Mark II. But I know that it's the same on the Mark III as well. So you hit this art button here with the little paintbrush, and you go to the second one, and that's multiple exposure. Select it, turn it on, and do additive. So I'll take my first picture of Tony, and if you need a refresher in taking a silhouette, you want to backlight your subject, and then it helps to also put your exposure compensation down a few stops. You don't need a white background, you don't need a studio. You could use the sky on a sunny day, on a clear day, and just shoot low and silhouette your subject. Or you can use someone in front of a window like I'm doing, but you'll have a more cluttered background this way. I don't really mind having some texture to the background and having some context, so that's what I'm doing. Tony, will you lift your drink so I have that in the picture? Will you lift it with your other hand so that your hand's not in the way of the drink? Thank you. So now that you have a silhouette picture that you like, use the art button here, go to your second option, and make sure that your multiple exposure is on. And next you want to select your silhouetted picture. So I like this one of Tony, so I'll press set, okay, and then the picture that I take after that will be merged with that silhouette. One thing you want to make sure is that your exposure for your second picture is good. So you want to make sure that your exposure compensation isn't still down from your silhouette. So make sure it's right in the middle, and then I'm going to find my second subject. So I scavenged around my kitchen a little bit and I found some flowers that might work for my second exposure and some peanuts. I don't know what that really has to do with you, Tony. He's nuts. So let me take my second picture and see how it comes out. The peanuts came out okay, but they don't really make a lot of sense. Tony's drinking out of a mug, and then what, peanuts in the background? That doesn't make sense. It'd make more sense if it all came together, like this example of one I did of him with his cup and coffee. Or the one that I did of my friend Siobhan with a microphone. So it takes a lot of creativity to make one of these too. So think about your whole story and combine your 2 pictures in a thoughtful way. So now that you know how to do your in-camera multiple exposure, let's go to my desk and I'll show you how to do one in post. So I'll show you the 2 pictures that I chose and why. First, I have this picture of Siobhan, and I liked it because, well, I really like Siobhan, but also it's blown out and we have some nice light coming through her hair, and it's like the opposite of a silhouette. These don't have to be silhouetted. And the second exposure that I'm going to blend her with is this picture of flowers that I took just for this purpose. And you can see the background doesn't have to be perfect. It's pretty much blown out in the background, but you can see like my door and stuff. It doesn't matter. I'm going to show you why. So let's select this image with Control A and then Control or Command C to copy. We'll go into the image of Siobhan and do Control V to paste. And it's on top of her layer. And then we'll go to screen. And you can see it's see-through. So I'm going to drag this over her and position it in a way that I think looks good. There's so many different ways to do this. You can find so many tutorials online, so many different ways to blend the layers. But I like this way. I think it's more organic, it's super easy, and I think it's more reminiscent of like the spirit of the film Multiple Exposures. I'm actually going to adjust this layer a little bit and make it a bit bigger. So I like this little V here, how it kind of shows her necklace. And I like that it ends. I like the shape, these little random flowers. I'm going to press Enter. And then there are some things that I'd like to clean up. So you can see that her eyes are kind of obstructed, and I'd like to make them a bit more clear. And I might clean up the edges a little bit. Let's see, let me zoom out. So I'm going to create a layer mask for this layer of the flowers. And now it's all white, and I have black selected. I'll go to my paintbrush, and I'm going to use Control+ to zoom in. Flow is 10%. So just kind of, I don't want it to be really clear. That looks better to me. And then there's a little bit here. So I'm going to go into the layer of Siobhan and press Control J to replicate the layer. And then I'll make another layer, put it underneath that one. I'm going to make this layer all white because I want this to be white, and I want to put a layer mask on Siobhan's layer. So there has to be something white under there. Go. Now I can add a layer mask. I'm just going to put my opacity down a bit because I want to just blend this away. And I'm not going to worry about anything down here because I'll be cropping that out. This looks a little bit washed out to me, so another thing that you can do is select your bottom picture if you have a washed out picture like the one that I chose, and you could add a curve layer to it, and then you can pull it down in the middle and it just adds a bit more contrast. So I like that. And then finally, I want to crop out everything below here, and I just want my final image to be her beautiful face overlaid with flowers with the white background. So I'm going to merge my layers and then crop. So I really like the way that this turned out, and I can't wait to show Siobhan.